Blood is a first-person shooter from the year 1997. It is the least known out of the holy trinity of build engine games. I and many others think that this is the best out of that trinity. Blood also has a very unique and complex backstory that almost nobody cares about. However, with the help of the video game manual, the Blood wiki, and the cutscenes, I will explain the Blood story for your entertainment. The story so far. In an age and a region renowned for cruelty and violence, Caleb was legendary. Born in western Texas in 1847, he had sealed a reputation as a merciless gunfighter by the age of 17, but it was 7 years later when he met Ophelia Price that his hunger for bloodshed took a new menacing timbre. She was already well beyond the bounds of sanity when he found her cowering in the charred ruins of the burned-out homestead where her husband and child had perished only days before. It was neither her tattered beauty nor her plight that compelled Caleb to take her in. However, it was the words he picked out of her virtually incoherent mumbling. He learned that her husband had attempted to resign his membership of the dreaded cult of Chernobog, and in return, cultists had set fire to the house in the night. Ophelia was filled with rage, not at the cult, but at her husband, whose cowardice she blamed for the death of her young son. Ophelia was Caleb's doorway to the cult and its dark purpose. He could not have known that in time he would come to love her, nor that their service to the cult would find the two of them beloved among the chosen, elite servants of the dreaming god Chernobog, the one that binds, devourer of souls. In the Hall of Epiphany, a temple that spans the chasm between the worlds, the 4 remaining chosen stand at the forefront of a procession of worshippers. Chernobog's presence is felt more than seen, the great frigid weight of hunger that spans millennia. He speaks in a cacophony of voices stolen from the dead, summoning the chosen to the center of the sacrificial ring. They stand before the dark god, united by a sudden, inexplicable sense of doom.
Welcome, my servants, my slaves.
What is your bidding, Master?
You have failed me. I disavow you all.
What the?
What?
I've taken your love. Now I will take your life. Consider my power in a hollow grave.
A wordless cry rises up from the seething shadows, one voice swallowed up by many until the hall resounds with them. The members of the procession behind the chosen melt away in a gust of ethereal wind, extinguished like so many candle flames. There aren't even ashes to indicate they ever existed. The chosen look to one another in confusion and dread. They can already feel the ties that bind them to Chernobog fraying. Why? How have we failed you? But there is no answer other than the shattering screams that threaten to tear the universe to shreds. Darkness swells around them, swallows them. Their cold, abandoned souls fall through the abyss, and they burn. Caleb awakens in cold and damp in a body he no longer knows. It has long lain as a corpse that refused to rot, protected from putrefaction by some unearthly link to its master. The pain of protesting muscle and flesh invigorates and awakens him. He welcomes it. It distills his hate into the maelstrom raging in the center of his mind. An agonizing cry breaks out of him, shattering the stone lid of the tomb in which he lies, knocking loose sediment cobwebs in the small, unnoticed creatures that have shared his grave with him. A single word rings out through the darkness, echoing Chernobog's lingering howl. Why? Episode 1: The Way of All Flesh. Caleb rises from his grave in a tomb located in a graveyard of the Morningside Mortuary Funeral Home with the words, "I live again." E1M1 cradle to grave. He begins by searching for his love Ophelia, taken by the gargoyle king Chiog. Unfortunately, Chernobog's followers are everywhere. Caleb moves to the train station behind the cemetery, E1M2, wrong side of the tracks, and boards the Phantom Express, E1M3 Phantom Express. He kills all the Cabal on the train and releases the safety locks on the boiler, exploding the engine and derailing the train. He emerges from the wreckage and finds he has arrived at a carnival, E1M4 Dark Carnival, with several Cabal-controlled attractions. Caleb finds a broken bridge and a pond. If he crosses the bridge, he finds a side path to a ride under construction, E1M8 House of Horrors. Either way, an underwater cavern leads him to one of the Cabal strongholds, a deconcentrated cathedral where the droning chant in the Cabal's language echoes throughout the grounds, E1M1 Hallowed Grounds. Cutting through the swarms of Cabal loyalists and other creatures, Caleb gains entrance to the Great Temple, E1M6, the Great Temple, a place protected by numerous underwater tunnels, traps, and Cabal minions. Caleb finds a teleporter that leads him to a rotunda, which leads to Chiog's temple, E1M7, Altar of Stone. Caleb finds that Ophelia at the top of the altar, crucified on a slab. He screams in anguish when the temple begins to rumble, and a wall collapses. Chiog, the king of gargoyles, emerges. But Caleb slays him.
Sleep, Ophelia.
Episode 2: Even Death May Die. Finished with Chiog, Caleb travels to the Arctic to look for Sheol, who has taken Gabriel. He starts on a small rowboat and runs into a large wooden sailing ship partially frozen in an iceberg, E2M1 shipwreck. Unfortunately, the Cabal are swarming all over it, but Caleb uses the ship to open a path through the ice to a lumber mill, E2M2 the lumber mill, that the Cabal has transformed into a crude human remains processing factory. He then proceeds to a snow-covered maze of hedges, E2M3 Rest for the Wicked, leading to the Overlooked Hotel, E2M4 the Overlooked Hotel. Within the hotel are a set of tomes which Caleb can use to open the door to a mountainous area filled with Cabal loyalists, E2M9 Thin Ice. He then moves to a 2-story haunted mansion, E2M5 The Haunting, with a kitchen, gardens, a library, a cellar, and even an indoor pool. It is the pool that hides the passage to an abandoned mining facility, E2M6 The Cold Rush. Caleb navigates the mine and delves deeper into the treacherous tunnels, E2M7 Bowels of the Earth, until he arrives at the lair of Sheol, E2M8 the lair of Sheol, deep under the Earth's surface. Within a small stony cavern, he finds Gabriel wrapped in a cocoon, along with the mother spider herself. Caleb kills her and her children.
Forgive me, old friend. Truly, truly, I say unto you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you.
Episode 3, Farewell to Arms. With 2 of Chernobog's lieutenants killed, Caleb has one left, Cerberus, the beast responsible for the death of Ishmael. Caleb travels to a small town in France, E3M1 Ghost Town, and occupies a small tenement. Few still live in this place, aside from the Cabal and its minions. No sooner does Caleb arrive, E3M2 The Siege, then he finds himself in the midst of airborne carpet bombings. This may be the result of Cabal capitalizing on the war-torn city after the First World War. Finding access keys in the bank, a meat processing plant, and City Hall, Caleb finds access to the sewers to reach the other side of the city, E3M3 Raw Sewage. He emerges in front of a hospital seized by the Cabal, E3M4 the Sick Ward. The interior contains patient rooms, a morgue, and an assisted suicide room. If Caleb finds a secret access in the chapel, he can travel through the catacombs, E3M8 catacombs. Once out of either the hospital or the catacombs, Caleb moves into a dam control installation, E3M5 spare parts, located close to Cerberus's cavern. Caleb overrides the dam controls and blows it up. The resulting flooding reveals the way to a lava-filled cavern under the earth, E3M6, a monster bait. Once in Cerberus's base, E3M7, the pit of Cerberus, hellhounds guard several seals which Caleb breaks, allowing access to Cerberus's inner sanctum. The 2-headed beast attacks, but proves to be no match for Caleb. Episode 4, Dead Reckoning. With the chosen avenged, Caleb heads for the Hall of Epiphany, where the Dark God is waiting. The first step is to cross a strange land with a dark laboratory, E4M1, Butchery Loves Company, possibly run by Cabal, and dive into an aquatic breeding facility filled with gill beasts, E4M2 Breeding Grounds. Traveling through the pipes, Caleb bursts out of a water cistern and travels through a charnel house, E4M3 charnel house, serving as a disposal site for dead creatures. Nearby, there is a passage to a forest-rimmed lake with the wooden cabins, E4M4 Crystal Lake. The exit is reached through a toilet to a blocked-off stone cavern. Here are two paths Caleb can take. The less obvious way leads to a shopping mall where zombies and other Cabal have taken E4M9, Mall of the Dead. The other way leads to a lava-filled cavern, E4M5, Fire and Brimstone, leading up to a mountain where a Cabal temple sits above the clouds, E4M6, the Ganglion Depth, guarded by some of the toughest creatures the Cabal has to offer. Caleb fights his way through the temple until he uncovers an entryway made of stitched-together flesh that bleeds when hit, M4M6, in the flesh. Caleb moves through the area, passing through the stomach and intestines to reach the heart, the final area leading to Chernobog's temple, E4M8, the Hall of Epiphany. Caleb stands at the steps of the hall and calls to his master, asking him why they were cast down.
I have awaited you.
Why did you cast us down? How did we fail you?
You were always loyal to me. You most of all, my child.
Then why?
Because I knew you would return. Can you not see? Every life that you have taken has made you stronger. And you have returned to me with a greater sacrifice than I ever could have wished. With the power you bring, I shall throw open the door between the worlds and inherit the earth.
Is that so?
Come to me, my son. Let us embrace at last.
Caleb ascends the steps and defeats reincarnations of Chiog, Sheol, and Cerberus before reaching the Dark God himself. As Caleb activates the last pillar, Chernobog's voice echoed, "I have awaited you. Kneel before me." To which Caleb replies, "I'm going to have to put you down." After a fierce battle. A fierce battle, my ass.
Delivered us from evil, for thine is the kingdom.
Episode 5, Cryptic Passage. Caleb travels to the Carpathian Mountains after he hears of an ancient scroll taken from him. This scroll is said to be capable of upsetting the balance in the other world, but Caleb finds himself detoured by the forces of Chernobog and the Cabal. He must find the scroll and take out everyone responsible for interrupting his journey. Caleb arrives at some docks, CPO-1 boat docks, which opens onto a large cave, a cabin, and a lighthouse. Everything is overrun by Cabal, and Caleb must fight his way through a city, CPO-2 Old Opera House, where he enters a large opera house, which apparently is showing the phantasm of the opera. Without losing any time, Caleb goes out into a black alley and finds a library located in the midst of a forest, CP03, Gothic Library. He escapes the minions of the Cabal after recovering all the keys required to access the Lost Monastery, CP04, Lost Monastery, once home to the Holy Order of Carpathia. Strange rituals are taking place, and Caleb ends them swiftly with his own brand of justice. The Carpathian Queen, a passing steamboat, provides escape, CP05 Steamboat. But since the Cabal owns the ship and uses it to ship its own brand of cargo, it provides less than a gentle ride. Caleb grounds the ship and finds himself in a graveyard, CP06 Graveyard, whose relatively empty surface hides some crowded underground catacombs. If Caleb finds the proper entrance, he can reach a gloomy swamp, CPSL Boggy Creek, where it is said death itself drives a boat searching for unwary travelers and lost souls. Otherwise, Caleb enters a secret crypt leading to the mountains proper, CP07 Mountain Pass, where large gorges, sheer cliffs, and ghosts are at every turn. Caleb moves through the mountains and into a mine, CP08 Abysmal Mine, a dark place infested with Cabal. However, it proves access to the hidden castle where an ancient path to the other world lies, CP09 Castle. Caleb ascends the stairs and finds the antechamber of the scroll, as well as its guardian, the Lord of all Nightmares, which proves to be two Cerberi. Caleb defeats them and then claims that which is rightfully his. Episode 6, Post-Mortem. After Caleb defeats Chernobog, he learns that the Cabal is training a new batch of the Chosen, and he sets out to stop the cult's plans. Caleb starts his journey at a department store, E6M1 Welcome to Your Life, overtaken by Cabal. Clearing a way through his enemies, Caleb finds another shopping center, E6M2 They Are Here, which is connected to a processing facility of sorts and is lured to an ambush in a Cabal-controlled warehouse, E6M3 Public Storage. Using the aeration conduits, he outflanks his enemies and moves into the city aqueducts, E6M4 Aqueducts. A Cabal ship is docked nearby, but Caleb does not waste time and sinks the vessel. Later, he moves into Cabal territory, wreaking havoc in a temple complex, E6M5 the Ruined Temple, then storming the Inner Temple, E6M6 Forbidden Rituals, where the Cabalists are preparing some kind of unearthly ceremony. He also has the chance to visit some forgotten catacombs, E6M9 Forgotten Catacombs, which are so forgotten they still have satisfied the temples have been dealt with. Caleb enters the dungeon, E6M7 the Dungeon, A dark, creepy structure built to stop anyone trying to reach the training ground for the new Chosen. A set of locked doors blocks the exit, and Caleb is forced to wander across different areas to gather all the required keys. In the end, he reaches the grounds. E6, M8, Beauty and the Beast, where a priest awaits, multiple at higher difficulty levels. He defeats both their Cabal form and Beast form, stopping the Cabal's plans. Hope you enjoyed me wasting like an hour or whatever explaining this frickin' story. When you probably already knew most of it if you played the frickin' game. But you know what? Frick you. Bye.